If you were to describe your baseline state of existence in one word, you might choose the word anxious. But if you were really honest, if you really paid attention to the sensation living in your bones, you might choose a different word. You might choose tired. I am not talking about the tiredness that comes from a long run or a day of physical labor. That is a satisfying fatigue. It is the body saying it has done good work. I am talking about a different kind of exhaustion, a frantic, buzzing, heavy exhaustion that greets you the moment you open your eyes in the morning. It is the feeling of waking up with a battery that is already in the red. It is the sensation of dragging your consciousness through molasses. You drink coffee, but it doesn't make you more awake, it just makes you vibrate. You sleep for 10 hours, but you wake up feeling like you have been fighting a war in your dreams. You go to social events, and within an hour, you feel a desperate physical need to leave, to be alone, to stare at a blank wall until your brain stops spinning. To the outside world, this makes no sense. You are high functioning. You have a job, you have friends, you aren't running marathons every day. So why are you so bone-deep exhausted? The answer lies in the invisible work you are doing every second of every day. You are tired not because of what you are doing physically, but because of what you are doing psychologically. You are tired because you are working a second full-time job that no one else can see. You are the sentry at the gate. You are the watchman on the wall. This condition is often labeled high-functioning anxiety, but a more accurate term is hypervigilance. It is the state of being permanently on guard. It is living with a nervous system that has been wired to detect threats in an environment that is technically safe. If you are the type of person who walks into a room and immediately scans the faces of everyone present to gauge the mood, if you analyze every text message for a hidden change in tone, if you feel responsible for managing the emotions of everyone around you, then this analysis is for you. We need to understand why your brain refuses to turn off. We need to look at the architecture of your fatigue. And as always, we need to go back to the beginning, to the environment that trained you to believe that relaxing was dangerous. Let's begin by looking at the mechanism of this exhaustion. Why does anxiety make you so tired? To understand this, we have to look at the brain's energy budget. The human brain is an expensive organ. It consumes about 20% of your body's metabolic energy, despite only being 2% of your body's weight. But a hypervigilant brain is even more expensive. Most people move through the world with a filter. They filter out the background noise. They don't notice the slight frown on a coworker's face. They don't hear the slight change in pitch in their partner's voice. They don't analyze the footsteps in the hallway. Their brains are efficient. They ignore the data that isn't relevant. But you don't have a filter. You have a vacuum. Your brain is ingesting every single microsignal in your environment and processing it as high-priority data. You are tracking the emotional temperature of the room like a meteorologist tracking a hurricane. You are simulating a dozen different future scenarios for every interaction, trying to predict where the danger might come from so you can prevent it. This is often called scanning. You are constantly scanning for shifts in tone, shifts in energy, and shifts in safety. And this scanning requires a massive amount of glucose. It keeps your sympathetic nervous system, the fight-or-flight system, locked in the on position. Your body is constantly flooding with cortisol and adrenaline. These are short-term survival hormones. They are meant to help you run from a tiger for 15 minutes. They are not meant to be marinating your organs for 30 years. When you live in this state, your body is effectively preparing for a battle that never happens. You are revving the engine of a car while it is in park, and eventually the engine overheats. That is the exhaustion you feel. It is adrenal fatigue. It is the biological price of being a peacekeeper in a war zone that only exists in your nervous system.
But why? Why does your brain think it needs to do this? Why can't you just chill out like everyone tells you to? Because to your brain, chilling out is not safe. To your brain, relaxing means letting your guard down. And if you let your guard down, you will miss the sign. You will miss the warning. And if you miss the warning, something terrible will happen. To find the root of this behavior, we have to look at the environment where your brain was formed. We have to look at the concept of the unpredictable home. Hypervigilance is rarely a genetic defect. It is an adaptation. It is a brilliant, creative, desperate survival strategy designed by a child who was living in chaos. When we talk about childhood trauma, we often picture physical violence, but hypervigilance is often born from emotional volatility. Perhaps you grew up with a parent who was an alcoholic. In an alcoholic home, the atmosphere changes by the hour. The parent who is sweet and loving at 9 a.m. might be raging and critical by 6 p.m. The only way to survive in that house is to become a detective. You have to learn to read the signs. You have to listen to the way the front door opens. Does it open slowly, or is it slammed shut? That sound tells you what kind of night it is going to be. It tells you whether you should run to greet them or hide in your room. Or perhaps your home wasn't chaotic, but it was emotionally fragile. Maybe you had a parent with a personality disorder, narcissism, or borderline personality traits. In these homes, the parent's ego is a porcelain doll, and the entire family is walking on eggshells to keep it from breaking. In this environment, you learned that you were responsible for the emotional weather. If mom is sad, the whole house is dark. If dad is angry, the whole house is terrifying. You learned that your safety depended entirely on their mood. So you developed a superpower. You became highly attuned to micro-expressions. You learned that a sigh isn't just a sigh, it's a prelude to an explosion. You learned that silence isn't peaceful, it's a calm before the storm. You became the good child, the quiet one, the easy one. You learned to suppress your own needs, your own noise, and your own emotions because the house couldn't handle them. There was no room for your chaos because the adults were taking up all the space with theirs. You learned that to be safe, you had to be invisible. And more importantly, you had to be predictive. You had to fix problems before they even happened. You had to soothe the parent before they got angry. You had to be the diplomat, the therapist, and the sentry. This worked. It kept you safe. It probably earned you praise. You're such an old soul, they said. You're so mature for your age. But you weren't mature. You were traumatized. You were a child soldier in a war of emotions, keeping watch while the adults slept. Fast forward 20 years. You are no longer in that house. The alcoholic parent is gone, or sober, or you have moved away. You are in a safe apartment. You have a safe job. You have a partner who loves you. But your amygdala, the threat detection center of your brain, didn't get the memo. The sentry is still standing at the gate, scanning the horizon, waiting for the enemy to return. This manifests in your adult life in subtle, destructive ways. First, there is the social hangover. You go to a dinner party. On the surface, you are charming. You ask questions, you laugh at jokes, but underneath, you are working. You are monitoring everyone's comfort levels. If two people are having a tense conversation, you feel it physically in your stomach. You feel an urge to intervene, to crack a joke, to smooth things over. You are managing the energy of the room. When you get home, you crash. You feel like you have run a marathon. You replay every conversation in your head. Did I say the right thing? Did I interrupt her? Was that joke offensive? Why did he look at me like that? This is the ruminative loop. Your brain is reviewing the security footage of the evening, looking for threats you might have missed. Then there is the email anxiety. You receive an email from your boss that says, "Can we chat?" There is no punctuation, no emoji, just 3 words. For a neurotypical person, this is a neutral request. For the hypervigilant person, this is a catastrophe. Your heart rate spikes to 120. You immediately assume you are fired. You assume you made a mistake. You spend the next hour scrolling through your sent items, looking for the error. You prepare your defense. By the time the meeting happens and the boss just wanted to ask a simple question, you are exhausted. You have just lived through a firing that never happened. This is the tragedy of high-functioning anxiety. You suffer the consequences of tragedies that are entirely fictional. You pay the emotional tax on deaths you do not owe. And then there is the impact on your relationships. Hypervigilance makes intimacy incredibly difficult. Because you are always scanning for danger, you often find it where it doesn't exist. If your partner is quiet, you assume they are mad at you. You ask, "Are you okay?" 10 times an hour. You start apologizing for things you haven't done. You try to fix their mood. Your partner feels suffocated. They feel like they aren't allowed to just be tired or quiet without it becoming a crisis. They tell you, "I'm fine, please stop asking." And when they pull away, your fear is confirmed. "See, you think? Something is wrong. I knew it." It is a self-fulfilling prophecy. Your attempt to prevent the abandonment actually creates the friction that leads to it. You are so terrified of the boat rocking that you accidentally tip it over by trying to hold it too still. This constant state of overdrive eventually takes a toll on the physical body. The body keeps the score. You cannot flood your system with stress hormones for decades without consequence. This is why you have the mystery ailments, the tension headaches, the jaw pain from grinding your teeth at night, bruxism, the digestive issues, IBS, bloating, stomach aches. The digestion system is the first thing the body shuts down when it thinks it is fighting a tiger. You cannot digest food when you are running for your life. And of course, the sleep issues. You might be able to fall asleep from sheer exhaustion, but you wake up at 3 a.m. This is the witching hour for the anxious mind. Your cortisol spikes, and your brain turns on like a light switch. You start solving problems. You start worrying about money, about the future, about a conversation from 5 years ago. You are tired, but you are wired. You're a car with the brake and the gas pedal pressed down at the same time. So how do we dismantle the sentry? How do we tell the watchman that the war is over? This is the hardest work you will ever do. It is harder than the hustle. It is harder than the grinding, because it requires you to do the one thing that feels most dangerous: surrender. You have to understand that you cannot think your way out of this. You cannot analyze your way to peace. The problem is not in your mind. It is in your nervous system. You have to communicate safety to. You are tired, but you are wired. You're a car with the brake and the gas pedal pressed down at the same time. So how do we dismantle the sentry? How do we tell the watchman that the war is over? This is the hardest work you will ever do. It is harder than the hustle. It is harder than the grinding, because it requires you to do the one thing that feels most dangerous: surrender. You have to understand that you cannot think your way out of this. You cannot analyze your way to peace. The problem is not in your mind. It is in your nervous system. You have to communicate safety to your body in a language it understands. And the body does not understand words. It understands sensation. Healing begins with safety signals. When you feel the panic rising, when you feel the urge to scan and fix, you have to manually engage your parasympathetic nervous system, the rest and digest system. You do this through the breath, long, slow exhales. A long exhale signals to the vagus nerve that you are not running from a tiger. You cannot exhale slowly if you are being chased. By controlling the breath, you are hacking the system. You are sending a reverse signal from the body to the brain. We are safe. But deeper than the breath, you have to challenge the core belief. The core belief driving your fatigue is this: if I am not vigilant, I will be destroyed. You have to begin to test this hypothesis. You have to run experiments in letting go. What happens if you walk into a room and don't scan the faces? What happens if you let there be an awkward silence and you don't fill it? What happens if your partner is in a bad mood and you just let them be in a bad mood without trying to fix it? The first time you do this, it will feel terrifying. Your skin will crawl. You will feel like you are standing on the edge of a cliff. But you must stand there. You must wait. And eventually, you will realize the truth. The awkward silence didn't kill you. The bad mood didn't result in abandonment. The missed social cue didn't destroy your career. You will realize that the world is much sturdier than you thought. It does not need you to hold it up. You have to mourn the childhood you didn't have. You have to grieve for the little kid who felt they had to be a soldier. That kid deserved to play. That kid deserved to be oblivious. That kid deserved to sleep through the night without listening for footsteps. You can tell that inner child, you did a great job. You kept us safe. You survived the war. But the war is over now. We are in a different house. We are safe. You can put down the weapon. You can go to sleep. The exhaustion you feel is the weight of the armor you are carrying. It is heavy, and it is old, and it is rusted. Imagine, just for a moment, what it would feel like to take it off. Imagine what it would feel like to walk into a room and just be, to not track, to not predict, to not manage. It would feel light. It would feel like finally waking up.